coming right there.
All right, hey, welcome back to Tactical Rifleman. I have Ryan and Amber here from Fit to Fight Republic. If you guys, this is like our, I think this is what, our 38th video in this series?
50-11.
So 50-11?
And 2/3.
So if you have not subscribed to their YouTube channel, Fit to Fight Republic yet, this is the part where I remind you that you are wrong. All right, now I also have Emery and Z here, and we're gonna move on to a few questions that have come in from our studio audience. All right, question number 17. Is there a distinction between fighting and self-defense? Who wants to start that?
I'll start.
So we don't have to be long on this one.
We don't have to be.
Well, however, no, seriously, like if you look at all the takes we've done on the other questions, we pretty much answered this in some roundabout way. So fighting and self-defense, now if we're looking at the context, like, hey, we're competing in a fight, in a sport, versus someone trying to hurt me, obviously there's a huge difference, right? I don't have to obey a bunch of rules. I'm going to seek every advantage I can get, and that might be surprising you where you're not ready, or being unfair for sport rules. So, and then if you get down to the actual definition of those self-defense, I think most of us agree, and they can speak on this, fighting is fighting, accept the environment and the concept or the context that you're in, and do what you have to within that context or that environment. So if I'm fighting for real life, realize that there's some people don't have to obey certain unwritten rules, and there's no necessary etiquette that I got to abide by. I'm just trying to win. If there's sports rules, I mean, there's sportsmanship, there's rules involved, there's all this other stuff. So fight in accordance with that. But it's all pretty much fighting. It's fighting.
Yeah, I mean, we say a good bit that, I've seen, I don't know, hundreds of fights been in enough. I've never seen anybody self-defense themselves. People fight, No matter how it started, right? Whether it's guy sucker punches somebody else or guy grabs a girl, whatever it is, at some point, like past that initial whatever, then you have to be able to fight, And that doesn't mean you touch them up and, you're standing out here and you're setting up your jab and whatever, but you are fighting. You are understanding push-pull energy. You are understanding basic concepts and with the understanding that I don't have to necessarily abide by whatever sport rules. That said, there are rules, Like if I don't abide by certain rules, I end up getting sued or arrested or whatever, So the whole there are no rules in a street fight, I don't really buy into that so much, because if a dude just brushes up against me while I'm walking through the grocery store and I turn around and smash him in the back of the head with a wine bottle, I'm going to jail, Now, if a dude bumps into me in a grocery store and pulls a knife and I smash him in the head with a wine bottle, I'm probably going to be okay. So, to me, there's the distinction is a semantic one.
What kind of wine was it?
I don't drink wine, so I don't even know why I said wine. Like, I don't know that I've
I have
ever
no
had
idea
a
where
sip
that came
of
from.
wine
No,
in
I
my
don't know.
life.
It comes in a box.
I just thought, why would you hit?
It really does.
Why would you hit somebody with a box? That's a terrible idea.
Now, if you've ever been to a good bar, in other words, shady.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to a good
That's the
bar,
best kind.
lots of people that want to fight but they want to fight just like they did back in high school. They want to bow up. They want to
It's more of
be
a
that,
social dominance.
Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to make show dominance over the other guy. I whipped his ass.
Ego-driven.
Yeah. But the reality is, if it's life or death, you're defending your loved ones. There's no way it can be de-escalated by saying, yeah, dude, you're more badass than I am. Then go medieval early. Go for the eyes, go for the throat, groin, basically everything that's illegal in MMA that's what you should be starting with.
Well, and so there's not a self-defense eye gouge. Like, you're fighting. That is a tool you are using.
Exactly.
And if I can throw a jab, I can throw, fingers in the eyes or whatever. That idea, that mindset it's a delivery system then, right? It's my boxing becomes my delivery system for my eye jab or whatever it is. And you mentioned earlier about if I understand position and if I understand angles and if I understand energies and whatever, I'll be in a good place to put my thumb in your eye or to bite
You have the opportunity.
to bite your ear or whatever. If you don't understand those things and you're on bottom and I'm on top and you reach up and try to stick your thumb in my eyes, you're probably going to get smashed because now I understand the position, I understand push-pull energy, and I can also do those things, but I can do it from a better place.
Emery, anything to add?
Yeah, I guess fighting's fighting. Self-defense does not necessarily equate to fighting. If you can talk somebody down, right? That's still self-defense.
That's verbal fighting.
Yeah. So, it's not necessarily verbal fighting. It's verbal judo, maybe, in cop speak.
Judo isn't fighting?
No. Judo's a martial art. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
To all our judo fans out there, please take full offense of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think fighting is something that can be part of self-defense, but self-defense is bigger than fighting, and fighting is, in its own way, a bigger word than just self-defense.
True.
If we're getting down to semantics, I guess.
All right, next one.
I guess we're moving on.
Carl's like, enough of that.
Square is a rectangle is in a square. Got it.
What are your thoughts on the current state of police training and tactics? Wow, like that's a subject you almost want to avoid, but because there's no matter what news channel you go to, it's all defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. And I have family members that are completely drinking the Kool-Aid, saying that, wow, all these officers, no, they're not. Are there bad cops out there? Yeah, I've met bad everything out there, but that doesn't mean that that's the majority, that there are that one bad apple in the basket. But for them to say, okay, confront them about it. How do you fix this? And the first thing they're going to say is, well, it shouldn't be that easy. They should pick better people. Okay, how do you pick better people? Well, it should be harder to become a policeman. Okay, but that means you've got to pay them more and you've got to train them more. So for these people that are arguing, we need to defund the police. So you just said you want to pay them less and you want to train them less and equip them less. Yeah, I'm here to tell you that.
And expect them to be better.
Brilliant thought process right there. The reality is a lot of law enforcement officers carry firearms. They do not carry a firearm to protect me. They do not carry a firearm to protect Z. They carry a firearm to protect themselves. That is for self-defense. That's all that's for, right? So if you're upset that they're using that weapon for self-defense wrong, or you're upset with some of the other training they have, it's because they're not comfortable with their hand-to-hand skills. They're not comfortable putting hands on to a guy that outweighs them by 150, 200 pounds. They don't have the skills to do that.
And the guy's probably been in more fights than the officer
Exactly. So let's defund them and take away any training at all.
And may have drugs
so
in their system
you
that
see
might
how
contact how to use.
And in my opinion, they don't get enough training at all. They don't. And you ask people that know me around where I live. I train law enforcement officers for free in my county. I literally will bring them, I invite them to come in. When they show up and don't have ammo, I'll give them ammo. Please come train with us. So anyways, I truly will say it out loud that I support the blue. And when I say to one of them, hey, thank you for your service, I'm being sincere about it, because when me and Z and everybody were deployed overseas, because they're like, oh man, you guys went overseas, you did this, you did that. Yeah, but while I was overseas, trying to keep the fight from coming to the U.S. It's coming, by the way. It is. We're just trying to delay it. But while we're over there, law enforcement are the guys that are back here protecting my family and protecting your family. So anyway, this is a touchy subject for me. That's why I took up the first
Well,
point.
that being said, we got a bunch of cops. Keep that thought in mind. We got a bunch of police officers that we know, right? And we've seen the footage of people making bad decisions under stress, right? Which solidifies what we've been saying the whole time while we've been talking. Like, you got to train. You got to train, and you can't expect skills to show up in the heat of the moment when you haven't practiced that and have that composure in the heat of the moment, right? So we've seen cops do that, and we've been underneath organizations where they gave you so much training, but it wasn't enough. They did enough to get you to a certain point and to, I guess, help with their liability, check the block in some issues, right? And the cops are much of the same, right? They're trying to get people on shift. They know that, hey, if I leave you on 12-hour shifts all the freaking time, you're not going to be a very good cop. So I need more people to do those shifts. And people are complaining that we need more cops available to us, and they need to come faster on emergency calls and all this stuff. We want more of them, and they're trying to provide for that demand. And at the same time, they have to balance that with, well, we got to get them trained properly. Well, how do we get them trained efficiently, streamline that so we can get them on the streets faster to help our forces that are out there and help our community that's begging for us to be more responsive or quicker in our responses, right? So there's all these things going on to balance it, and some cops do make bad decisions. We've seen soldiers make bad decisions, best of the world make bad decisions, right? If you're not getting the training enough and they find themselves in those situations where they realize that, hey, you know what, when I was scuffling with that guy the other day to control him, I did some stupid crap. There's videos of a cop like putting a chokehold on his own partner because he was kind of caught up in the moment and just lost awareness of what was going on and just grabbed something and squeezed it. I like to think that somebody sees that and they're like, well, now I realize what I'm missing, and I know that what I was doing in that moment, right? Sometimes it can be too late if it's a catastrophic mistake, but that mistake, it can be fixed. Well, we are putting under a microscope everybody that made a bad decision, which America does, right? Negativity sells.
Monday quarterback.
Media won't say it. We don't hear nothing about the good things going on out there. So that's what you hear about all the time. I see almost every cop that I know is taking advantage of the free slots I offer in my class, the free training that Carl offers. And anybody that's offering free stuff at gyms, a lot of gyms are doing it now, free. Come in, 4 months free at my gym that I train at, 4 months free for a cop that's just starting out in jiu-jitsu, 4 months free, right? So we offer that, and then there's a lot of cops that's taking us up on that. So that tells me that these guys are not saying, hey, the easy way out, my organization didn't teach me how to do that. Well, that is an easy way out no matter who you are. You take responsibility for your skills. I don't care who's training you or putting you through whatever pipeline. You are responsible for what you are able to do or what your capabilities are. You will be making the decision on the ground in the heat of the moment, and you will definitely be held responsible for that decision that you make. We've seen that. There's scapegoats everywhere of this. The politics and the leadership of these in these cities of these cops are not necessarily getting fired, but we see cops getting fired all the time. So whether that's right or wrong doesn't matter. As an individual, take responsibility for your capabilities. If you haven't experienced or you don't feel composed and comfortable in a clinch or close-in fighting situation with another human being in a violent context, then you need to work on that. Bottom line. Have you done that before? No? Then you need to take responsibility for your training. Have you pulled your gun and put it away or assessed certain situations with your gun besides just shooting at the range? No? Then you need to get familiar with that. Right? So take responsibility for yours, and I think speaking for what you just said and are echoing what you said and speaking for the rest of us, we support police officers and we know there's a need for it, and we want to do our best to provide training for those guys. And as long as they're not letting their ego get in the way and they're taking responsibility for their own level of training.
They are in a tough spot, though. I mean, you look at all other industries, professions, continuing education is something required of pretty much every field. And not only is it required, but it's literally like they make it almost impossible not to get it. Like, hey, you're going to take an hour of your day and do this, and we put it on your schedule. Congratulations, right? So, and I've only had a limited experience in terms of how the process goes for getting training into the police curriculum. I'm sure Ryan can speak more on this, but from what I've seen, the people making the decisions have no idea about real training. They haven't done it themselves. They don't know, a lot of them haven't even been cops before. They have no idea what training is needed. They want to just streamline the process and get officers out, like you said.
Check the boxes.
Check the boxes, cross some T's, dot some I's, move on. Okay, we said they need to do this, they did it. It was 5 minutes of 40 hours, and
It says they
that
signed
box,
here, said they're trained.
yeah, they're trained, so they're good to go.
State of North Carolina, you get 6 months basic law enforcement training. Out of that 6 months, you get 40 hours of subject control and arrest techniques. Out of that 40 hours, the first 8 are lecture. So you've got 32 hours of training. And
That's
so
all you need to be an expert.
So let's say you got a 22-year-old kid. You put him through 6 months, and that's 6 months' time. He gets 32 hours hands-on. Now you're going to give him a gun, a taser, OC, baton, cuffs, drop him in a neighborhood he doesn't understand, with people that he's going to have to interact with that have been in more fights that week than he's been in his whole life, and expect him to not go to tools from jump. It's completely unrealistic. And we're going to continue to see these mistakes over and over again until we do the opposite of what the cry is, the defund. State of North Carolina right now, I can tell you, you need about 2,000 new officers a year to replace those that are retiring, quitting, moving on to another agency, dying, whatever. We're getting about 900. And out of those 900, we're getting people that we never would have taken before. Because nobody wants the job. Why would you want the job? You're not going to prepare me for pulling this guy over and interacting with him. I don't have the soft skills or the hard skills. So it's, how do you expect me to de-escalate?
And then you're not getting backed up afterwards.
That's right. Because I know when something goes down, it's not going to be my ass. I mean, it's not going to be your ass. It's going to be mine. You know, and I'm probably going to get sued. You're going to get sued, but your insurance is going to cover you. You're going to keep your job. I'm going to be screwed. And now what? So, training overall. I mean, if that's the question, training overall is not only is it woefully deficient, what they're getting sucks. It just does. There's no stress. There's no decision-making process. I spent 2 days at a very large federal law enforcement agency, and I spent 2 days with their head trainers, and they do zero training that is non-compliant. None. Zero.
Wow.
I pull my gun, I tell you what to do, you do it, I cuff you, we move on. Well, what do you expect? The first time that goes down, and it doesn't go down that way, and it won't. This agency deals with people that aren't just going to comply. What do you think is going to happen?
There's a whole nother piece to this too that people don't think about, right? They think that police training is their firearms, right, and their combatives and all that, which is, as you're pointing out, Ryan, not totally correct. But in addition to that, and it's just like being in some special ops unit, you know, your shooting does not make you a special ops guy, right? That's a little piece. You have to know how to shoot. You have to know how to shoot well with all your various weapons. But how about land nav? How about driving? How about jumping out of airplanes? How about, you know, the demolition, the plethora of other things? So for police and police guys, you have, you have your geography, you have your legal stuff, you have, you know, all these other things that they need to learn and they need to re-up on constantly. There's a lot of things that are not just fighting. And fighting, I would say, is the most important in one way, which is if they, and we've already said this, if we have the confidence in our fighting abilities, then we have the confidence to not use those tools. Then we have the ability to not take it there more often. And so when we defund the police
under stress.
I'm sorry?
Better decisions under stress when you're
right, but that's and that's also, like Ryan was saying, like you were saying, you know, that's not part of their fighting training, right? They're not doing the type of training, for the most part. Some are, but for the most part, they're not doing the type of training that's under adrenal activation, right? They're not training for a surprise. And so, you know, and firearms training is expensive. Yeah, there's ammo, there's guns, there's range fees, there's blah, blah, blah.
In addition, they have to pay that officer to go to training, and they have to pay some other officer overtime to work his shift. A lot of people forget that when you're paying an officer to go do training, he's still on duty and you're still having to cover him. So it does get expensive for him.
Guys, you want better cops? Fund the police.
Yeah, how do we fix this? Exactly. Instead of yelling defund, I'm not saying just throw unorganized money at them. No, but if you want better people holding the jobs, you've got to get better people on the job.
State of North Carolina, you need almost 2 times more hours to become a barber than you do to become a police officer.
Ain't that awesome? Wow. Halter, I'll cut your hair. All right.
No bad haircut.
Yeah, me either. I'd get shot.
All right. This is going to be a real quick one here. Fighting in plain clothes versus fighting in full gear. How to adjust/adapt. And then he goes on to the Hoover super secret head kick.
Let's start with that one. That one's more interesting.
Yeah, let's
I mean,
go there.
I do like to kick people in the head.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, could you
elaborate
elaborate
for us?
If my philosophy is, if you can, you should.
Agreed.
If you can't, then don't keep your feet on the floor. Because
Can I get a pat?
here's the thing. Yeah. So here's the thing.
He'll do it.
Like, from a self-defense context, if you're going to kick somebody, you're saying, I'm going to kick your ass while standing on one foot. It's a high risk. But there's a pretty high reward, too, if you're good at it and you do it properly. Like, I'm not advocating, I'm not telling people, kick somebody in the neck out in the parking lot between 2 cars, you know. But there's time and place for everything. And it's like a cartwheel pass, right?
Yeah.
How many times are cartwheel passes at a fundamental level going to be taught? Very rarely. Yeah. Do they work? Yeah, if the timing's right, right? If you're good at it and the timing's right.
There's a reason it was invented.
That's right. So, I kick people in the head.
It's
the
not
neck.
very, not
I
very
like the
super
neck.
secret of
I like
us,
to put
but-
my shin on the neck. I think that's a good.
Shin on the neck.
Yeah.
I used to be able to kick high, but 2 bad knees, 2 bad ankles, bad Achilles tendon. No, I'm serious. When you get older,
No, I agree.
53 guys.
I've had this
53.
ACL reconstructed. I understand.
I don't kick above the waist anymore.
Well, that leads us to what the initial part of the question, the clothing.
remember what it
Like,
was.
I was just gonna say
you got to
that,
wear
yeah.
some bad boy pants like Ron Kwando to kick somebody
right.
in the head.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but it's true, right? Like, I mean, I don't know what he means about full gear. I don't know if he's talking about kitted out or what, but like, if you wear a certain type of clothing all the time that you know is going to restrict certain things, then yeah, you should train that way, you know? Not all the time, because I don't think the vast majority of things is not going to affect that much. But yeah, if you wear, it'd be no different than if you wear a suit all the time. Well, if you wear a suit and you want to carry, that's going to change the way that you're going to carry, right? And you're not going to carry appendix anymore because everything's all tucked in. You got a tie, you know, that's going to change the way that you carry. So if you're a real estate agent or realtor or whatever, and you're doing open houses and you're wearing 3-inch heels and you got to go upstairs and that kind of stuff, that's going to affect the way that you're going to fight and the way that you're going to respond.
You're training with a firearm in your hands, and you respond different, but it's the same way. If that's the kit that you're wearing, you have the muscle memory, you're used to having that firearm in your hand. It is an extension of your body. You learn strikes with it, you do. Muzzle thumps, everything else. That's just part of it. But as far as adjusting, adapting, if you train enough plain clothes or you train enough in kit, you end up developing the muscle memory. And that's what it comes down to. Your subconscious mind is going to do the moves or the techniques that are required, and that frees up the conscious mind to deal with the decisions that need to be done. When Z goes through the door in the shoot house, he's not thinking, hey, I need to rotate the selector lever, I need to take up slack on the trigger. I need to line up the sights. No, he doesn't. His subconscious mind does that. His conscious mind is free to decide, is it a threat, is it not a threat, is it a threat that warrants deadly force? That's the importance of training. And once you do that, honestly, it doesn't matter whether you're in civilian clothes or gear. Your subconscious mind senses what it's in, what the situation is in. You have subconscious skills for driving. You have subconscious skills for walking up and down stairs. Your body can do it by itself. Frees up the conscious mind to be doing other things.
95% of our behavior is unconscious, and that's a survival mode, so that we can just do these things without thinking and focus our brain on the other bigger things that require our attention.
Well, but there is, you know, as far as technique and stuff, there is a big difference, right? I mean, I'm assuming we're talking full kit here too.
Body armor, weight.
Yeah, and Z and I have been discussing this most of the day, that does change what you do, right? I'm not going to kick somebody in the head when I have 60 pounds of gear on me, right? I'm just not. My feet are not going to leave the ground like that because my head's going to be in the ground. You know, there's a whole kind of different way you do it, and you know, maybe we'll do a whole video on it. But
So for us, and there could be a difference. I really don't know. I don't think I've ever put on a full kit, but I train sometimes in regular street civilian clothes, whatever, and then a lot of time in more athletic geared clothes. And I feel like I have a good idea based on the smaller amount of training I've done in regular clothes of what I can do and I can't do without spending the majority of my time in regular clothes. Would you say that's similar for full kit, or should they be shifting the scales more towards full kit versus plain clothes?
if you're going to wear full kit, you need to train full kit.
Yeah,
it's a big difference.
Train as you fight.
Well, the biggest thing is just the weight discrepancy.
Yeah.
Like 40, 50 pounds added to your body is really going to limit some of your
and
ability to
that's
move.
a big difference then between how I shrimp on the ground, hit a scissor sweep, and jeans versus
When you have
leggings.
kit, you do not want to be on the ground, even more so than when you don't have kit.
Like if
right?
I'm a cop, for instance, we just hit a question about cops. If I'm a cop, a lot of the stuff they need to do because they're going to be required to do it is with that holster on, with that body armor on, and be able to do those things because it will add some small nuances that will change up everything. Or you won't be able to do it with a holster here potentially. Maybe you'll decide to put your holster on the front. We talked about that
Right.
for driving in cars and stuff.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
And the weight,
Well-
you're more accustomed to it.
Yeah.
And think of this, even small things, right? With police kit, you have gear going all the way around your belt, right? Lay down on your back a second, you're not really laying back. You're kind of
yeah, for
doing
sure.
this, right? There's all these little things that gear changes. You know, your mobility, you put plates on, you can't collapse your arms all the way,
And then
right?
if you're not in great shape, that's going to add to all of that as well.
So you're saying fitness is important to fight.
Weird, right?
Strange.
Full circle.
Gristle. Have less gristle. No, and if that's the kind of kit you got, you just came from the Longhorn Steakhouse, and no, but serious, you've got to be in shape to wear the extra kit. And for people that put on my kit and say, "Oh, I could never wear all that," you couldn't fight in that. Bullshit. You get used to wearing it, but again, different techniques. And I can't tell you them in a video. You've got to get out and train as you fight. All right, I think we've knocked out a few questions, but thanks. We've got lots more for the next couple of videos. So we will see you. First, I want to say thanks again for Fit to Fight Republic coming out and visiting with us here at the Louisville Armory in Louisville, Kentucky. If you've not subscribed to their YouTube channel yet, you're absolutely wrong. So we'll see y'all next time. Y'all take care and shoot straight. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so you don't miss out on anything.